Bridgestone India has just launched a new tire, the Sturdo, which is aimed at the lower end of the segment, more of the hatchback segment, and it is all about durability and life as well as low rolling resistance. And talking to me about this and more is Parag Satpute, the Managing Director of Bridgestone India. Parag, thanks so much for talking to us. Launch of a new tire, but I think this time the focus is more on durability and, obviously low rolling resistance with EVs coming in and all that. So clearly it's to, how do I say, impact the customer's pocket as little as possible on both the fronts, mileage as well as life.
Indeed. So, first of all, Hormazd, thank you for having me over. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I know that you have an extremely engaged follower and fan base. So, very happy to use you to get our message across to all of your followers.
Thank you.
This is one of our major product launches in the last few years. And we are really happy to be presenting this to the Indian consumer. As you said, a lot of work has gone into this. This tire is designed specially for the Indian market and addresses a large segment of the customers, the mass segment. And as you know, in India, one of the major requirement of our consumers is to get more mileage, more kilometers out of their tire. So that is what we have managed to achieve. Up to 29% more mileage can be got from these tires. But most importantly, without compromising on the ride quality, without compromising on the RRC of the tire.
Right, but Parag, obviously there are a lot of conflicting parameters of a tire. You improve one thing, another thing suffers. How do you achieve the right balance? And obviously it would be a mix of materials, and sometimes that comes at a cost. So is the upside the tires are a bit more expensive because to kind of get the sweet spot of balancing all these sometimes conflicting requirements?
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you also because you are so much knowledgeable about the tires. You're right. So
Thank you.
RRC and long life are counterintuitive, go pull in different directions. But this is where we are so proud because we have been able to create a tread compound which allows us to achieve both, which allows us to keep the RRC at the current levels, at the same time improve the long life. Now to your question about the price, of course, we have used the latest technology. So this product will be priced at a slight premium for existing product, but nothing very significant because we believe it
Right.
is the mass segment and we want to focus on the total cost of ownership of this tire.
Got it. And, Parag, just talking about durability, obviously looking at our road conditions, impact damage is pretty high. And normally it's the sidewall that bears the brunt of the impact. And that's really the key sometimes to minimizing damage. Has something been done on the sidewall side? Are these fundamentally taller profile tires, or is the sidewall also beefed up? Sometimes that increases weight. And even the overall balance of the tire. So just to understand, let's say getting down to the specifics, because from what I understand, this tire is very unique for India.
Yeah. So it is one of the most common complaints you'll hear from tires that there is a sidewall cut or a hole in the sidewall, and consumers really struggle to understand how that happens. But as you know, it happens because the tire gets pinched on our potholes between the rim and the edge of the pothole. So definitely to improve the durability in this tire, we have beefed up the sidewalls. We have made them much more resistant to the kind of road conditions that we witness in India. And that's how we have been able to achieve the higher durability.
Right. And Parag, I would imagine this tire is basically for the aftermarket, or is there an OEM interest in this as well, or is it fundamentally aftermarket?
What we are launching, the Sturdo product, is aimed at the aftermarket. With OEMs, we work on a model to model basis where we get a very detailed spec from each of the OEM to fit their models. And we bring to effect all our technology within that. So this technology is available to the OEMs, but the launch that we are talking about is aimed at the aftermarket.
Right. And, just getting specifically into some of the specifics, which is RRC, or, really trying to lower the rolling resistance. In recent years, have you seen a huge demand for this, just given the fact that it's fundamentally coming from EVs, or is it coming from the fact that people just want to improve fuel economy. But I would imagine EVs are the main push because everyone wants that extra bit of range.
Yeah. To be honest, the push on lower RRC comes from the OEMs primarily.
Right.
It does not come from the consumers. If you ask the Indian consumer, or forget Indian, if you ask worldwide tire consumers, they will say they want their tires to be durable and they want them to last as long as possible. Very few are able to directly connect the RRC to the fuel efficiency.
Right.
That's the fact of the matter. Um, the drive towards lower RRC is coming through government regulation, and it's coming from the OEM specing, trying to get the fuel efficiency up there. With EV coming in now worldwide and also in India, definitely increasing the range is one aspect of it, and where RRC has a role to play. But with EVs, there are a couple of other things that come to play in tires. EVs will exert a lot more torque on tires, as we have spoken, I think, in our previous interactions. So the kind of wear resistance that will be needed will be much more robust and will be different. And thirdly, EVs take away all the engine noise. So eventually, the main noise left
Tire noise is something you
will
need to really minimize.
exactly, tire on the road will be the main noise. So the what kind of technology we can bring to reduce the noise of tires will become a very, very important component. So we are also very actively working on all of these three angles, so that we can bring a tire which is ideally suited for the EV market. We've already launched these products in Europe and in other markets such as Japan and the US. We are well on our way to launching those in India as
Right. And, Parag, just to understand the overall state of the tire industry, obviously, I think there has been some support as far as, let's say, cheap imports coming in. There's been quite a clampdown on that. But obviously, some of the bigger sizes which are not available here, still issues with that. What is your sense, being a manufacturer which manufactures here as well as has a whole range of very high-end tires as well? I'm talking about the bigger sizes, 21, 22 inches as well. What
well.
is your strategy vis-a-vis the entire range? Is it a combination of imports as well as local production?
First of all, I think it was a very smart move to restrict the import of cheap products, because cheap products, uh, by their very nature, could compromise on the safety, and safety for us is the most important thing. So that was a good move. Of course, that put a lot of short-term pressure on the Indian manufacturers. And I count Bridgestone as an Indian manufacturer because we have been here more than 25 years. It put a lot of pressure to localize the whole range. We already were producing 95% of the products that we sold in India. We were doing that even before all of these restrictions. But since then, we have quickly localized some of the higher range diameters. We have done that in record time. And today we are able to manufacture anything up to 19-inch. And very soon we will be able to do up to 20-inch as well. We are able to import some tires because we have, as you know, manufacturing facilities across the world. So some of the higher range or say RFT tires, we are still able to import, but we are localizing as much as possible and doing it at record pace.
Right. And Parag, just to understand, the viability of localization, what's a typical volume you need to justify the investment in the tooling and the industrialization of setting it up? Is it a low volume? I mean, is the entry barrier quite low in that sense, or it depends on the tire as well?
It depends upon the specific technology. I mean, if you're just talking about an inch size, then it's a different matter. There might be some modifications needed to the tire building machines. There might be some new kind of molds, new kind of curing presses needed. But if you're talking of some new technologies such as RFT, or if you talk of some sponge technology for EVs, then it's slightly more complex and could be the lead times are a bit longer. Uh, as coming to the economics of manufacturing locally, again, that depends on how you set up your manufacturing flows. What we have been able to do in the last 2 years, that we have worked very, very rigorously with lean manufacturing principles, and we have really reduced down the batch size to something which is completely manageable, and that's why we are able to localize even sizes which don't sell in big numbers in India. And On the demand side, I think it's heartening to see that higher in sizes are getting spec'd into more and more cars because we are selling more SUVs, MUVs in India. We are also seeing more premium vehicles being sold in India. So both of these things are driving towards faster and more economical localization.
Right. And Parag, looking at the structure of the market, clearly moving more towards SUV, are we seeing a shift in tires moving up and settling on a center of gravity, let's say 16, 17 inch, or let's say between 15 and 17 inch? Is that really where the core and heart of the market is moving now?
Still, even today, 14, 15-inch form a bulk of the market.
Right.
Yes, SUVs, MUVs are growing, and those are coming with 15, 16, 17-inch even. You know that the latest Innova also came with a 17-inch. So we will see a
So
slight
that's
shift
the
towards
16.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and it's a gradual move which has happened in all countries. We have seen that happening in some of the more developed countries, and that is happening in India as well.
And Parag, obviously, your fortunes are linked to the overall auto industry's fortunes because I think bulk of your volumes come from OEM supply. Maybe not your margins, but obviously that's important. How do you see the market panning out? Are you, do you feel that there will come a time when more capacity is needed for the tire industry? And just to get your sense of the overall growth, because there's a lot of this supply demand dynamics which are really in a state of flux right now.
Yeah. We actually have quite a balanced portfolio. I would say that we have almost 50-50 split between our OEM business and our aftermarket business, which is a good, healthy situation to be in.
Right.
The Indian market being still on a growth trajectory in terms of car penetration. I believe this balance can be maintained also in the future. Some of the developed markets, of course, the aftermarket becomes much bigger, but in growing markets, this balance is quite common, and we have learned to operate with this in a good way. But I think going forward, we see that the capacity investments will continue. In the last 3 years, we have steadily increased our own capacity. We have invested more than 2,000 crores in the last 3 to 4 years in both our plants, not just in capacity, but also in new technology. And we expect to continue to bring on newer technology and even more capacity as the market develops. So India has been a growth market for us, and we envisage that it will remain so for the coming future.
Right. No, that's very interesting. I think clearly, if awareness should be created. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing in contact between you and the road is the small tire footprint. And, hopefully awareness will grow with tires. And thanks so much for talking to us, Parag Satpute, Managing Director of Bridgestone India. And congratulations on the launch of the Sturdo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hormazd. A pleasure talking to you.